So, the two questions of this video are whether Paul Felder is really, as the media calls it, reinvigorated, and what's next for RDA, and I suppose what's next for Paul Felder as well. And unsurprisingly, Paul Felder versus Rafael dos Anjos was awesome. From start to finish, it had amazing wrestling exchanges, the striking was awesome, and the fighters left it all. They left everything in the octagon. It was entertaining from start to finish, even though most of it was grappling, wrestling against the cage, which you wouldn't think it'd be that interesting. But knowing how dangerous both of the fighters are, it really made it intense and interesting for the fans. And after such an awesome event, to be fair, most fights on that card weren't that exciting. This one was one of the more interesting fights, but after it was done, Paul Felder gave an amazing interview where, as media called it, he was reinvigorated. And whether he was faking the excitement and whether he was actually remotivated and ready to be a contender again, try to get the title, is unclear, but it's also relevant, in my opinion. You have to understand that no one currently fighting knows the business better than Paul Felder, because he's in the organization, he knows what he has to say, and he did so after the fight. If he were to seem doubtful after the fight, say like, I don't know, maybe I'll fight again, maybe not, no one would be interested. No one would, few people would compliment how great he was. He already semi-retired in his last fight, so it's awesome that he didn't seem doubtful. Whether that was honest or not is completely irrelevant, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
And if he's not actually retired, which I personally don't think so, there are quite a few awesome fights for him. The first that jumped to my mind is him versus Alec Winter. I like both of the guys. It would really be an exciting matchup, and especially after such a great performance by Felder. Paul Felder versus Alec Winter would be perfect. I'm not even sure who I'd pick in that fight. They're both coming off a few losses actually. It would be much more back and forth than Rafael dos Anjos versus Felder was. And it would actually be quite a similar fight, because Alec Winter would probably also try to utilize his wrestling skills when fighting Felder. And Felder would utilize his awesome striking abilities. Just two awesome guys. The organization likes both of them, the fans like both of them, and I think it'd just be a great matchup. There obviously are more fights to make, because lightweight division has never been more stacked. And as RDA kept saying after the fight, once Khabib left, the division became wide open, which, it's completely true. And it's unfortunate that one of them would have to lose, because, as I said, both of them are great guys, but, it's the fight business, that happens. And Makhachev still wants to fight dos Anjos after the Paul Felder fight, which wouldn't be the worst fight in the world to make, but I feel like there are much better options for RDA than the Islam fight. After the fight, he called out McGregor, and he did so the right way. Many guys, after they fight, call out Conor, but they give zero reasoning. The rankings don't seem to make too much sense, and it's just to get the publicity, to get Conor's attention, maybe get a few tweets from the man himself. Which, fair play. You'll get some fans thinking about it. Maybe you'll get a few more likes and follows and things like that. But in RDA's case, he gave an amazing statement as to why he actually should be fighting. As he said, they are the only two current fighters that have been the champs in the division. they've been interim champs, but none of them have actually been lightweight champs except for Kana and RDA, which is a great point. It's a great way to actually make a statement, to make fans interested, and it just adds to the storyline. And McGregor responded, everything seems to go that way. And if they're actually not going to fight, it's also not the end of the world. There are many interesting matchups like Charles Oliveira. Who else? He could rematch Tony Ferguson. That would be interesting. Tony doesn't seem to have an opponent yet. What else? These two definitely make sense. And maybe Dan Hooker, who knows, just a few interesting matchups for RDA. And if he ends up fighting McGregor, awesome. I'm rooting for that to happen. Because actually from the beginning, when Poirier was supposed to fight McGregor for the second time when the talks were starting to happen, I just had the feeling that it wasn't going to happen. I just don't know what it is, just the way Dana kept talking about the fight. Poirier being reluctant to accept the UFC's deal. McGregor giving really specific requirements, which he usually does make these kinds of asks, but, it's just too many variables for everything to go right. And a fight like this, pretty random, but also completely logical, like Conor vs. RDA, I think is pretty likely to happen. So the fights were awesome. What do you guys think is next for these guys, for Felder and RDA? Do you agree with my matchmaking? I'm curious to see what you think in the comment section down below. And that will be it for today. I'll see you right before UFC 255. And stay tuned for my Shevchenko versus Maia analysis. That'll be interesting. Alright, peace.